Number 1 says, a Girl Scout troop of 16 members sells 400 boxes of cookies in 1 week. Assume that this rate of sales continues. Write the relationship between the number of boxes of cookies and the members in this situation as a rate or a ratio, and then explain your reasoning. It wants the relationship written as number of boxes over how many members. So part A should be 400 boxes to 16 members. You also then need to explain why it is a rate or a ratio. The definitions for rates and ratios are on page 4 and 6 in your textbook if you need to look them up. Pause the video and determine if this is a rate or a ratio and discuss with your partners. You should have found that the relationship is a rate because the units are different. We are comparing boxes to number of members. Part B asks us to complete the table. We can pretend that the table is set up as a bunch of proportions. So 400 over 16 is equal to x over 8. And we can just scale up or down to find the missing answer. When we move from 16 to 8, we're getting smaller, so we need to divide. If we divide the bottom by 2, we need to divide the top by 2. And we should get that the answer to this box should be 200. We can set the next one up as a proportion also. These are all equivalent to each other. They're basically like it's basically like having a bunch of fractions set equal to each other. Okay, so if we're trying to find what goes above 32, we can work up and multiply. We know that 16 times 2 gives us 32, so we would take 400 and multiply by 2 to get an answer of 800. Since these are all equivalent to each other, you can use any of the fractions to find the next one. So I could take these two and set them up as a proportion also, or I can set these two up as a proportion. It doesn't matter which two I do because they're all just equivalent to each other. Same thing as if you have 1/2 equals 2/4 or 3/6. They all mean 1/2. And they are all related or equivalent to each other. And same thing with all these fractions in the box. So I can, again, if I want to use 200 over 8 is equal to something over 24. And just have to figure out what I'm scaling up by and do the same to the top. So I want you to go ahead and fill in the next 2 boxes. Press play, and then when you have, press pause, and then when you have the answer, press play. You should have answered the numbers 600 and 500 in your box. Part C wants you to determine a unit rate for the situation. That just means that you want a number 1 on the bottom of your fraction. So we can fill in this box as a number 1 for the members. Since we're getting smaller, we have to divide. 20 divided by what gives you 1? And then you have to do the same exact thing to the top to get your answer. Go ahead and do this. Press pause and then play when you are done. You should have come up with an answer of x equals 25 boxes. Part D says use the unit rate to calculate the number of boxes of cookies 50 Girl Scouts will sell in 1 week. So that's the same thing as putting a 50 down here in our number of members. And if they want us to use our unit rate to solve, we're going to use one member sells 25 boxes and scale up to see how many boxes 50 members sell. If we're scaling up, we need to multiply. 50 or 1 times what gives you 50, and then do the same thing with the top. Pause the video and then play when you have the answer. You should have multiplied the top and the bottom by 50 and gotten an answer of, if 50 members sell cookies for a week, they will sell 1,250 boxes of cookies. Part C says, use the unit rate to calculate the number of Girl Scout cookies that it would take to sell 575 boxes. That number is going to go on top because our boxes are all on top. It wants us to use the unit rate to solve. We know that one member sells 25 boxes. We need to then scale up the top and the bottom to try and find how many members it takes to sell 575 boxes. So you need to find out what you multiply 25 by to get 575 and do the same thing to the bottom. When you get your answer, press play. You should have gotten an answer of 23 members to sell 575 boxes of cookies. If you look back at your table, 23 members will fall right in between 24 and 20, closer to 24, and so should your number of boxes. 575 falls in between 600 and 500, so you should know that your answer is then correct. Talk with your table mates and discuss F. Does having the unit rate help you to answer these questions? Explain why or why not.